Alright guys, we're going to look at taking care of the eggs from start to finish as soon as you find them in the lay box. Now in my last video, breeding leopard geckos, if you did not happen to see the lay box example that I gave at the very end of the video, go back to that video and check that out because it shows how and where the females will lay the eggs. But as you can see, this happens sometimes with females. They will not lay them in this beautiful lay box that you've prepared for them. Sometimes they will lay them off to the side over here. Thankfully right now, it's about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I just got home from work and this gecko, Ashley over here, she just laid these and she was kneading them. Kind of like how a cat needs a blanket or a pillow that they're about to sleep in. You can see her legs right now. You see how she's like kicking and pushing in her instinctual reactions right now. She's pretending like she's burying the eggs. Why she did not feel comfortable to bury them in her box? I have a couple theories. What I try to do with the box, I try to keep it moist, and this dirt might not have been moist enough for her. Maybe it's too dry. As you can see, very dry. The last time I sprayed it down was a few days ago. I have the lay box over the heat, so it dries it out fairly fast. Could be a number of reasons. That's a theory of mine. It doesn't mean that that is the case. It could just be something that the gecko just happened to do. A lot of my geckos, I don't have this problem with, but with some of the geckos I do. And you just have to, when it comes to your animals, you have to study them. You have to, I want to get this before it dries, but with your animals, you have to study them. You have to see what their normal behavior is like and begin to document and make observations. With one of my leopard geckos here, she laid the first pair in the lay box and the second pair on top of the plastic part of the lay box. Why that is, I don't know, but through studies and observation, you can find out. So without further ado, I'm going to get these eggs all set up. I want to make males for this specific setup, so I will show you how to do that, okay? So a couple of things you will need, obviously. Number one, the eggs. Number two, a container to incubate the eggs. Number three, a substrate to put the eggs on, which I have right here. I am going to use vermiculite, bought from your general hardware store, Home Depot. And number four, an incubator. This is my male incubator, set at 88 degrees to make male leopard geckos. This is my female incubator, set at 82 degrees to make female leopard geckos. So let's get the eggs all set up. Okay. You'll want a spray bottle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change out the water that's in the spray bottle right now and completely make it fresh from the tap. Something I'm experimenting with because I don't really do anything with this water. It's just sitting in here. So the thought might come across like maybe it's okay. But I'd rather for now not take chances. And I'm experimenting with water that's been sitting around for a couple days versus water that's not been. When it comes to fish, it's actually good to let the water sit around for a couple days because it evaporates all the chlorine naturally without having to put any added, dechlorinizing solution in. But with actual water that you're going to be putting into living, eggs are alive. You got to understand that they're breathing. That's why you don't want to smother them with too much water. You don't want to smother them with not enough air. Everything needs to be just right for these eggs to survive, and I'm going to show you just how to do that in this video. Alright, so now that we have some fresh water, I am going to get everything ready. Now, one thing I did not mention a second ago that you will need as well is a scale. So here's what I'm going to do. Sometimes I'm very nitpicky, and it doesn't mean that it's right, doesn't mean it's wrong, it's just the way that I feel the most comfortable doing things. I just bought this plastic from the store. It probably has nothing wrong with it. It's probably 100% fine. But it makes my conscience feel a little bit better just to rinse it off real quick beforehand. Number one, because the plastic smell is very strong. And number two, because of any bacteria or anything that might be living on it. Like I said, probably nothing. but I will use my clean spray. And again, some of you might think this doesn't do much, but it makes my conscience feel a lot better. I have a spray here that is mixed with distilled vinegar that you buy from the store, distilled vinegar, and I mix it with a little bit of water, usually about 50% water or sometimes 70% vinegar, 25% water. I'm just gonna spray this in the tub, rinse it off with some hot water, and that's it. My conscience is, for me personally, my conscience is more comfortable with that, and I sleep a little easier at night. Now, because we don't want to throw the water to substrate ratio off, I am going to dry this container. And again, it's just part of my OCD, my obsessive compulsive disorder, which sometimes works in my favor and other times is a very big hindrance to my life. But in this case, whatever, it's not so bad. I don't mind being very meticulous and detailed over certain things. So again, let's make this quick because I don't want those eggs to dry out too much. Okay, there's many cheap scales you can buy out there right off Amazon. This one I really like. It's called Embryo Digital Kitchen Scale. It holds up to the tens and the hundredths place. Oh, it says it right there, from 0.01 grams to 500 grams. So very nice scale. I think it was like $12 or $15 on Amazon. I'll show you exactly what I do when I set up every single tub. So again, this container, fresh bought from the dollar store, 3 for $1. You want to make sure it can seal. And personally, the way I do it, you want to make sure it has no holes in it. I don't pop a hole in it or anything. And I will explain to you why, because every week or so, I open this thing up and close it anyway, and that allows for fresh air to come in. And in the meantime, without holes, it allows for the most amount of humidity to stay locked into this thing. So let's see if I could do this for your perspective on camera. There we go. So what we're gonna do, real easy, container, no holes. You put this on there and it's going to say 22 grams. Hit the T button, which stands for tare. It's going to say approximately 0. Sometimes it doesn't zero out completely. As you see, it varies a little, like 0.08, very, very small amount, doesn't matter. Now, I'm going to fill this container with approximately 1 inch of vermiculite. Again, this is just the vermiculite that you buy from Home Depot. And the reason I like to put at least 1 inch is because it allows, the more of this mixture in there, the more humidity you can hold. The more humidity you can hold, in my opinion, the better it is for the eggs, and the longer you can use this container to incubate eggs. So every container about this size, which is about 5 inches by 5 inches, every container this size, I will put 6 eggs in. 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. And I'll show you an example of that later on. But if the geckos hatch, I want them to have enough room on the top to move around in case I'm on vacation or in case I'm gone. They could sit in there for a little bit and be okay. And even though geckos like tight spaces, I don't like to feel like the amount of oxygen that's in here and the carbon dioxide they're breathing out is going to harm the eggs that have not hatched yet. If I can't get to it for like 2 or 3 days because I'm away or something. I babysit these like crazy. Like every single day I come in, check my temps. Every single day I come in, check to see if babies hatched. But in the occasion that you are away, vacation, work, whatever it might be, I like to leave a little bit of space there for the geckos to hatch and crawl. So as you see, I take this off and it says negative 22 grams. Why? Because that's the weight of just the container. And I just wanted to show you the amount of substrate is about 1 inch to the amount of space is about 1 inch. And the full weight of this is about 31 grams. So check this out. Let's not make it harder than it needs to be. you're going to mix 1 gram of water for every 1 gram of substrate. So and I err on the heavier side more than anything, slightly. So if it's wobbling between 30 to 31 grams, I'm gonna round it up to 31 grams of substrate. That's just the substrate, not the container. Remember, 22 grams is the weight of the container. That's why it says -22. I hit the tare button, zeroed it out. The weight of just the substrate alone is approximately 31 grams. So I'm going to take 31 grams and I'm going to add 31 grams of water. Well, what is 31 plus 31? 62. Exactly, you got it right. So now we're just going to literally spray in here until 62 grams of water, or 62 grams is the total weight of substrate plus water in this container. And again, like I said, I err on the side of heavy rather than light. So my goal was 62, and guess what? It's at 63. Guess what? I'm gonna go a little bit to 64, 65. I'm okay with that. I'd rather have a little more humidity than not. Close up your container. Some containers are gonna close better than others, but try to find a container that closes pretty decent. Shake it up. Mix it up. This is the part that you want to mix everything as evenly as possible. Turn it upside down, mix it. Turn it upside down and swivel it and shake it back, side to side. Get it nice and good. There you go. Okay, we no longer need the scale. Wait, let me just make sure that my weight was correct because I'm super meticulous. And I double check myself, 65 grams. So again, remember, we had 31 grams of dry substrate plus 31 grams of water, should be at least 62 grams of total substrate plus water. We're at 65, slightly over, A-okay. Here's what I'll do. Every clutch, I lay top and bottom. So I'm gonna make a little niche for the first egg, and I'm gonna make a little niche for the second egg, top, bottom. So, oh, I was bad. I should have separated the eggs right from the start. And here you can see, I was bad. I got carried away talking. So let's do this. Let's spray a little water on the eggs because the eggs are now beginning to stick together a little bit. And you can actually rip the membrane of the egg. So this is a good example I can show you guys. Let the water sit in there for a little bit. If you can let gravity pull it apart, even better. So you can hold one egg and just kind of, oop, see, gravity pulled it apart. Now, I just went through a situation where the eggs were very dry and stuck on top of the plastic the other day. And guess what I had to do? I had to run water onto those eggs for maybe about, you don't want to drown the eggs because remember, the egg is a living, breathing thing. So a little bit of water, and then as soon as you can, get water off of those eggs. When the gecko lays the eggs, they will lay it one side of the egg up. So I picked up these eggs right from her tub in this exact position, facing up. This was the top, and this was the top. And now I'm going to put the eggs, the top of the egg facing the same way up in the substrate here as it was in her tub. So you can kind of bury it in there a little bit. I like to say tuck it in. It's hard for you to see, but see if you can see what I'm doing here. I make a little divot like that, and then I tuck the egg in. I tuck it in, I tuck some substrate around it. Now what I wanted to show you with this one is I wanted to show a candle light, which I usually use my phone for, but since my phone is recording right now, let me go get a flashlight. And of course I have no flashlight available, so I'm sorry about that. But what you would do is hold the egg like this, and let's pretend that this water bottle is my flashlight. Shine the flashlight underneath the egg. And what will happen is you will hopefully begin to see a little red within the egg. If you see, the egg is going to have blood vessels to it because the egg is alive and breathing. you know, so the blood vessels, I don't know how the biology of it all works a little bit, but you will see small, thin, wavy, vine-like lines within the egg. You might not see them if the egg was, you know, right from the start, but what I noticed the other day was when I got the egg wet, from the egg that was stuck to the plastic, I got the egg wet, it was actually a lot easier for me to see the blood vessels of the egg. So you might not see the blood vessels of the egg, the blood lines, and hopefully you will be able to see a small red dot. I mean small, like it's going to be like the size of a pencil dot small, maybe a little bigger than that, and that will be the embryo. You don't, if possible, like if the embryo is upside down on the bottom of the egg, just turn the egg. You want the embryo to be on the top side of the egg, but the mom gecko should have already laid the egg with the embryo on the top. And for leopard geckos, it's commonly thought that it doesn't matter whether the embryo is on the top or the bottom. Some people might argue that, but regardless, better to err on the safer side. If the embryo is on the bottom, just take a quick sec and turn the egg so the embryo is on the top. If you can't see the embryo, don't worry about it. Give every egg a shot. Maybe it's a good egg, maybe it's a bad egg. So just so you know, these two eggs look really good, right? Nice and white and like perfect looking. It does not mean this is a good egg, but I will treat every egg the same. I will give it a fighting chance. I will create the right amount of water to substrate ratio. I will tuck the eggs in. I will give them a fighting chance to prove whether they are going to wind up being good or not. So now you lock this in play. It's funny, the mom was actually looking, she's right here. She was actually looking at me a second ago like, hey, what you doing with my eggs? They're pretty good. They're not like snakes that might get defensive. When I came home right now, she was kneading the egg on the newspaper where you saw it. She was kicking it, you know? And I was worried that she was in the mid kick, and I just kind of touched her and then moved her, and I thought she was going to get aggressive with me, but she wound up not. Now let me show you how I label these. Now someday I will show you my spreadsheet in the computer. Actually, maybe today I'll do that. But here's what I do. Physically with the eggs, I will mark a couple of different things. Because guys, you want to data track as much as possible. If you have some females that are known for laying one egg, you want to track that. If you have some females that are known for laying eggs that are infertile, you want to track that. So every year, label your eggs physically so you can see them here, but also create a spreadsheet, which I will show you here in a second. So the mom here her name is Ashley, and we're going to be incubating these for boys, so I'm going to draw her in blue. So Ashley, and then remember what I said, I'm going to have one egg here and here, another egg here and here, another egg here and here, all from the same girl over the next, let's see, these eggs take 2 weeks to lay, 2 to 3 weeks, plus another 3 weeks, plus another 3 weeks. So over the next, so this container will hold eggs for a total of 9 weeks. From the first eggs that are laid, 3 weeks. Second pair of eggs that are laid, 6 weeks. Third pair of eggs that are laid, 9 weeks. So that's why the amount of humidity you want to stay trapped in there, that's why I don't put any holes in it or anything, because if it dries out, you might need to change the humidity levels. And with this method, I had a lot of success last year. So I'm going to mark, this is the first clutch right here. And so what I am going to do is I'm going to mark the date that she laid, which is, let me think what today's date is. I think today's the 23rd. Let me check real quick. Yep, it is 1/23 of 20. And I didn't write that the clearest, but again, I'm going to document it in the computer. So this is more or less that when I look into the incubator, I can see approximately when those eggs are going to hatch. But the computer is my main thing, main data tracker. So as you can see, I have January 23rd, 2020, Ashley, the color blue, because I'm incubating them at 88 degrees, which I want these eggs to be male. So let me put her away real quick because she's climbing. Good girl. Good job, girly. There's some food. Load up on food. And let me take you to the incubation room. Now, here's what, again, as meticulous as I am, here's what I noticed this year with the incubators. Reptibator is great, but when you look inside, Reptibator is definitely, the heat is more consistent because it's digitally based, meaning that it's always going to stay at whatever temperature you set right there. You see that black thing? This black thing is the temperature reader, and it's at the top of the incubator. Why is that important? Because even though the top is set for 83 degrees, the bottom of the incubator only gets to 80 degrees, and the middle of the incubator gets to about 82 degrees. Now, this thermostat that you're looking at here is less accurate than the other one that I'm about to show you in a second. So it's really about 81.5 degrees, and I'm okay with that. I just don't want to go over 82. I want 82 or 81. So I want to err on the side of cooler by 1 degree rather than warmer, because the closer you get to 84 degrees, the more chance you have at making a male. So I'd rather incubate the eggs at 81 degrees rather than 83 degrees. So that's why 81.5 is perfect. And that 81.5 degrees though is right in the middle of the incubator. If I was to move, and I did a lot of testing, if I was to move this all the way to the end of the incubator, guess what? This area is 1 degree colder than the middle. Same thing with the top right corner, top left corner, bottom left corner, bottom right corner, and the right side. Basically, the outer edges of whatever incubator you use is going to be about 1 to 2 degrees cooler than the exact middle. So you have to decide what is best for me based on that knowledge. And I'll show you another example here with this incubator. It's hard to do this one-handed, and I don't want to mess up the incubator. So I'll show you and then I'll put the eggs away. So there's that temperature gauge reader that I use that's more accurate. Okay, let me pull this off. I know what I'm going to do now. This, my friends, is called the Hova-Bator. It's used for farmers' chick eggs. This is the Reptibator. It's used and sold in pet stores. Which one is better? Well, I will tell you the difference between the two. This one is a little deeper and larger, meaning that the temperatures are going to vary a little bit based on how far you want to go. But the digital thermometer, if you have, let's say one day in your room it's 75 degrees in your normal room, and then it goes up to 80 degrees the next day, this digital thermometer is always going to adjust to keep its reading meter at whatever temperature you set, 83 degrees. This one, on the other hand, is a clock dial based system, which I noticed fluctuates more if your temperature in the room fluctuates. So the pro to this is that from edge to edge, diagonal to diagonal, it keeps a more consistent temperature, usually 1 degree cooler, meaning that the top right corner is going to be 1 to 1.5 degrees cooler than the middle. Whereas here, the top left corner is going to be 2 to 2.5 degrees cooler than the middle, because as you can see, it's a much deeper fill. Now you can fix that by, you know, adding extra insulation or whatever you want. But just as is, without manipulating it any further, this one is going to be more spacious and therefore have more variance or more change depending on where you put the eggs. This one will have less change on the inside, but if your outer room temperature changes, if one day if one day this is set perfect, like it is now, at 88 degrees, right where I want it. You see that? 80, really hard to read, sorry guys, but it says 88.3 degrees. That is based off of my room temperature in here being 75 degrees. If I have a really hot day or forget to turn on the AC or whatever it is, and my room temperature goes to 80 degrees, guess what's going to happen inside of my incubator? This is not set on a digital, I don't know how this system works, but it is not set on a digital meter. It's set on some kind of rotisserie rotating meter that when it hits a certain level, bing, it clicks on, bing, it clicks off. But if your room temperature changes, this meter does not take that into consideration, meaning that your room temperature has to stay consistent. That's why I have pleaded with my fiance. See, it just turned on right now. That's why I've pleaded with my fiance to allow me to set the house temperature at a cooler temperature than normal, because during the day I have this heat light from the snake going on here. I have this heat light from the bearded dragon going on here. I have the heat from the other snake going on there. I have a whole rack of heat going on here from the leopard geckos. All of that ups the ambient room temperature in this room, and it can affect the incubation temperature in here. Okay, so let me put this down for 1 second. So you might be asking, Frank, what do you have going on here? Well, again, I'm so meticulous that I want to take the temperature at the exact level that the eggs are at. And because this is taller than where the eggs actually are laying, I put this white box down to simulate where the eggs are laying. Because what I was doing before, I was just putting this black thing on top of the eggs. Well, guess what? There's another inch of air before this temperature gauge gets to the eggs. And guess what? In my studies and tests that I ran, there is about a 0.5 and sometimes a 1 degree difference between just the top inch of this tub and lowering it to this lower area right here. I'd say it's probably about 0.5 of a difference, which is not much if you don't really care too much about the gender determination of the geckos. But if you care about them and want to keep that temperature as precise as possible, it's best to find something to help you take the temperature at the exact level that the tubs are going to be at. So as you can see, the temperature in here is pretty good. It's 88.3 in the middle. On the edges, guess what it is? It varies to about 87.5 or so. But here's the problem. If I want the edges to be 88 degrees, it raises the middle to be about 90 or 91 degrees. And that's a problem, because what can happen with leopard geckos, I'm trying to make males by incubating them at 88 degrees. If the temperature goes too high to about 91 degrees or so, from the research I've done, I've never seen this happen, so I can't speak on it personally, but from the research I've done, people have claimed that it will make females that are aggressive and difficult to deal with, difficult to breed. So not only will you not get males, but you'll also get females that are a little different and a little more high maintenance than regular females. So that being said, I am trying to incubate all of the first eggs within the middle range of temperature. So what that means is right here in the middle, I know it's 88 degrees, like perfectly. It varies between like a low of 87.5 and a high of like 89 or so. So what I will do is I will take the fresh batch of eggs that I got and I will put it as close to the middle as I can. And then the eggs that have already been in here for like 2 weeks, I'll move them to the outer edges. And you might say, why does it matter? Because the leopard gecko gender is typically determined within the first 3 weeks of the leopard gecko's egg life. So that means that I only have to keep these eggs at the temperature that I want to produce males at 88 degrees. I only have to keep it there for 3 weeks out of the approximate, let's use 2 months, which is 60 days. Out of the 60 days that it takes the eggs to hatch, I only need about 21 of those days to be in the actual desired temperature range to create the animals I want. That's female or male. Female, it has to be at 82 degrees for 3 weeks. Male, it has to be at 88 degrees for 3 weeks. After that, in theory, I could take a male canister, move it into the female bin, and I'm still going to get males because the gender is locked in. And what some people do is they'll take females from the female tub and they'll put it into the male tub. And the reason is because it is thought that at higher temperatures, the females will develop better color. But again, you need to lock in their gender for 3 weeks before moving them over here for the remaining 6 or 7 weeks. So, I hope that makes sense. If not, ask me questions. But this container, as you see, was from December 22nd, which is almost a month ago. But this is from the 14th. Meaning that today is only the 23rd. These eggs are not locked in. So actually, I'm glad I caught that. What I'm going to do is move this over here, move this over here, and I'm going to create a triecta effect here. So I want to keep these newer eggs as close as possible to the middle because that's where I know the temperature is going to be closest to 88 degrees. Does that make sense? If not, ask me a question. Okay, I'm gonna put the camera down for a second, reset up my temperature thing. Actually, here, I'll just show you what I'm gonna do here. So, now this thing's pretty big, but you wanna get as close to the middle as possible. And what I will do, it doesn't matter where you put the face of the thermostat, so just make sure it's in a place where you can see it. And then I'm going to put there we go. I'm going to put the black probe at the same level as the eggs. So this canister is 2 inches tall. The eggs are incubated at 1 inch within this incubator. So this has a height of about 1 inch, and that puts that black probe at about 1 inch. So I'm going to put this down so I can fix it all. Okay, I fixed everything I needed to fix. The temperature thing has kicked on. You can't see it right now, but it says about 70. What does that say? 79.9. So it says 79.9. It just turned 80 degrees. And I will monitor this every day, sometimes 2, 3, 4 times a day. I will check to make sure that the temperature is as close as I want it. As you can see right here, remember what I said? I know it's 81.5, and I'm happy with that at that level. Because females can be anywhere from like 79 to 82. So even if it falls a little beneath 82, that's okay. And I would rather it be 1 degree beneath 82 than 1 degree over, for the reason mentioned earlier. You want to ensure females as much as possible rather than risk the chance of getting males. And again, here, I was thinking a lot about it. I would actually rather the temperature drop from 88 to 87 rather than, if I turn this up anymore, I've already experimented it, if I turn it up anymore, the temperature in the middle goes to about the 90s. So, I just thought of something I could do. I could put no eggs in the middle. Since the middle holds less eggs than the edges, I could put no eggs in the middle and just put canisters around the edges. But for now, just keep in mind that whatever you want the main temperature to be of whatever side of this incubator, just remember it can change. The temperature can change drastically, like 2 degrees sometimes, between the middle to the sides, to the top to the bottom. Keep that in mind. Find the right temperature range you want and lock in place those mechanics so that you can have as much success as possible with the eggs temperature you're trying to incubate. So let me show you on the computer side of things what I will do, and that'll be the last part of this video. So on the computer side of things, I have my beautiful Alienware computer here. Awesome for editing videos and awesome for playing video games. I created a Google Docs spreadsheet for many different things, for profits and expenses regarding my gecko collection, but also to keep track of eggs and babies. And there is a difference, because sometimes eggs don't hatch into babies, right? So you want to make sure. Here is my list. It's called Leopard Gecko Breeding. And at the very bottom, I have 2 tabs. Number 1, I have the breeders, which includes the eggs. And number 2, I have the babies that actually hatched out, which includes, or didn't hatch out, which includes the babies. So if you take a look here, I have my breeding from 2019 right here. I have my female, when I found her ovulating, when I paired her, the male I paired her with, when she laid her first clutch, her second clutch, her third clutch, her fourth, her fifth, and her sixth, if she wound up laying that many. Let's take 2020, because this is where we're at right here. Sometimes I didn't catch the exact ovulation of the gecko, and I didn't put it. But for like Nadia right here, I caught her ovulating around December 31st. For Mary Kate, I caught her ovulating around January 4th. For Ashley, January 6th. And as you can see, the pairings happen almost immediately after that. Nadia was paired same day I found her ovulating. Mary Kate was paired 2 days after I found her ovulating. Actually, I paired her on the day she ovulated, but she did not breed with the male. So this word paired means that she actually bred, successful breeding. And then Ashley caught her ovulating January 6th, paired her and bred her with Zeus on January 6th. Now Ashley was the only female so far not to have laid an egg for me, but guess what? She just did. So January, what do we have here? 23 of 2020. You can make it whatever parameters you like. I like making it bold. I like making it red. I like centering it. So Ashley's first clutch was laid on January 23rd, 2020. And here will be her second clutch when it happens, third, fourth, and so on. Now this helps you keep track. So for example, she laid for me on January 21st. So let's take a look at the calendar. If I anticipate she's gonna lay another 2 to 3 weeks from now, she laid for me Thursday the 23rd, 1 week, 2 week. I will keep an eye on her from approximately February 6th through February 13th, because this is 2 weeks, 3 weeks after her last lay. And you wanna do that with everybody. So Sugar was the first one to lay this year for me. Her first clutch came out December 26th. Check this out. So she successfully paired December 11th. About 2 weeks later, she laid her first clutch on December 26th. About 2 weeks after that, 2.5 weeks after that, she laid her second clutch on January 14th. What does that tell me about her third clutch? I'm gonna quiz you guys. So January 14th, when is her next clutch due? Between what dates? The second and third week from now. Yep, if you said between the week of January 28th and February 4th, you are absolutely correct. That's when I will be anticipating her third clutch. And there you go. Now, a clutch does not mean a hatch though, and that's why I want to bring up the baby list. So last year, I actually had this gecko, Mary Kate, without even being paired to a male. She never even got paired to a male. Look at that. No male. No male. She was only a teenager. She laid one egg that was a dud, and the other egg never even came, because eggs are laid in two. And that could be something to take note of. Why do I say that? Because if you look here, Mary Kate this year, she was bred on the 6th. She laid her first clutch on January 19th. But guess what? When we go over to the notes section, the egg, I found the egg dry and there was nothing I could do for it. I couldn't even save it, so I just threw it away. So I found the egg dry, but guess what? There was only one egg. Now, do you find that you should, let me say it this way, I find that interesting because when she was a teenager, check this out, last year when she was a teenager, approximately in June, she laid one egg, but she was not ever paired with a male, but she only laid one egg. And then here she was paired with a male and still only laid one egg. What is that telling me? Quick thought process. What does that tell you? Think about it for a second. What are the possibilities? Okay, without carrying it on too much longer, the possibilities are maybe she only ovulates one egg at a time. Maybe she only has one ovary or whatever you call it in leopard geckos. I don't know. But by data tracking, like this deep into detail, I can see if my geckos, I can see all the statistics based around how my geckos lay. For example, one more quick example. Skittles and Sugar, my #1 female producing girl so far. Her first 2 babies for me last year, guess what? They did not hatch out for me. They were both infertile. So, in 2020, let's see, she already bred. So in 2020, if any of these eggs, here's Sugar, if any of these eggs here from the 26th or from January 14th prove to be infertile, let's just say hypothetically, these eggs right here prove to be infertile and the rest of the eggs good, I could begin to see a pattern. Hey, the first clutch she lays for me every year tend to be infertile. Now, I'm really not hoping that for this year because these eggs look beautiful. But I think you see what I'm saying. If you could determine a pattern that your geckos are setting, that will set you ahead that much more for the next breeding season. So, I hope this video has been helpful. And let me know if you have any questions. Stay tuned for future videos. Let me know if you have any video recommendations you want to see. I've had a recommendation for a crested gecko setup video. I've had a recommendation for a leopard gecko heating rack video. And then I have a couple ideas of videos that I want to make myself. But let me know what you want to see in the comments. Stay in touch with me. I'm here to help if I can. Let me know. Thank you guys.